Okay, today we're going to leave off where we left before Easter break, and that was on our going into our final design for our name tag. You should have gone in with your pencil and started designing your name and any other images or pictures that you're going to put in. We also talked about using a ruler, straight edge, or any types of templates to trace, for example, a circle. If you need to do that, that is an option as well. Today, the main discussion that we're going to have is talking about adding color into our name tag. A lot of you should be at the stage now where you're ready to go in and add color. You have two options for adding color. You can either do color, which is obvious. Color would be going in with markers, crayons, colored pencils of all sorts of colors. So you can use various materials, various colors. You also have an option to do grayscale. Grayscale is a lot more challenging because grayscale is just black and white, and then of course making different grays. Now, black and white or grayscale is really hard because we see life in color, and so trying to make things look three-dimensional using just black, white, and grays is a little bit challenging. But you have either option that you can do. So it's either color or grayscale for your name tag. I've only had, I think, one person do the grayscale in all of the years that I've taught this project. So color is definitely more popular. So as far as when you go in and add color, the different tools that you probably have at home right now to add color are for sure color crayons. You should all have color crayons. My guess is you all have colored pencils, and then basic markers to color. Some of you might have these twistables, which are basically something in between a color crayon and a colored pencil. You might have various types of ink pens. Those would be something you can work with. Some of you might have Sharpies. That's an option. And then, of course, using pencils is an option as well. Anything that is considered a drawing medium. Colored pencils, crayons, markers, that kind of thing. Now, when you're coloring in your name tag, things you need to consider. There are three main types of color schemes that we're working with. You've got your warm colors, which are colors that stand out. If you want something in your name tag to really jump out and pop, you're gonna want to use a warm color like reds, yellows, and oranges. Pinks, especially the magentas, are also considered a warm color. Cool colors would be the opposite then. We're talking the blues, greens, and purples. And that is something that you can think about. These go back in space or recede. They do not pop out. These are the colors that will pop out. So backgrounds are always good for these colors, and this is for things that you want emphasized or to pop out. And again, yours might not, you might not color in based on what you want popping out and what you want going in the background, but I just wanted to give you that little insight. Of course, we also have neutral colors. Neutral colors are the leftover colors, grays, blacks, browns, white. Those are also colors that you are probably going to use in between or as fillers. So when you start to color, a few things I want you to think about is when we go in and color, we want to avoid coloring in one value. So if I'm coloring in a basketball, okay, let's just say I'm coloring in a basketball and I start with orange. I want to avoid taking my orange colored pencil and coloring it in like this, all one value. This is all one value, and it's not very exciting or interesting to look at because it's flat. Now, if you take that same circle and you color it in, giving it some dimension by pressing hard and then lighter, hard, lighter, you will get yourself an object that looks more three-dimensional just by going in and adding a little bit more of that color and value. Now again, what it's showing is that this area of the basketball is highlighted while this is not getting as much of the light. I also love colored pencils because you can layer on the color. So a basketball isn't just a bright orange, it's also got a little bit of red in it. So I'm gonna go in and add some red to my basketball. And then of course, details that need to be added, I probably am gonna go in and add some lines to it to give it some detail, make it look even more dimensional. So I'm just going in and adding lines to it. And now it looks 3D. 3D, shapely, 2D when you just press with one solid value. Now, if you're going to do grayscale, remember grayscale is everything is black, white, gray. So if I'm coloring in a ball or like a basketball in grayscale, I have to still give it dimension. So I'm going in and I'm pressing harder and then gradually getting lighter as I go through. So it's like a dark to light value scale, making that ball look like it's got dimension. Adding the details just like I did with the other one. So you got grayscale, you got color, avoid that. Same thing goes like with markers. Markers, you cannot get value. You have one value with a marker. You cannot go light to dark. It's one value. Markers are good for outlining, okay? Tracing things, going over things, outlining. If you're doing a value, if you're gonna add value, what I love about crayons and colored pencils is you can make them light and dark. So I can make my colors super light. I can press harder and get it darker, harder, it's getting darker. And then of course, as hard as I possibly can get it, and it actually ends up looking like a marker. And you can layer, talked about layers. So I can take a blue over top of the blue green and I can make a whole nother color, which is kind of cool too. So you can layer on colored pencils. Same thing with crayons. Crayons, you can go light, press harder, until you get it as dark as you can. Crayons, you can also layer, but because crayons have that waxiness to them, they're a little bit harder to blend in. So I prefer colored pencils, actually. So things you need to think about when you're coloring in is the warm colors, oranges, pinks, yellows, reds, those are going to stand out. Our greens, purples, and blues are going to recede, go back in space. And then marker is one value. Don't color everything in marker because you only get one value. Try to get lights and darks. You can do grayscale or you can do color. It depends on what you're going for. And then please remember to send me a picture of your progress today. That's should be one that maybe you have added a little color to now that you've watched the video. And then let me know if there are any questions. Thanks.